talking about faith. Faith is like seeing a tiny speck of light in a world of utter darkness. It is not knowing what the future holds, but who it is that holds the future. When our path seems bleak and gloomy, Bhagwan will be that light which protects us from the negativity around us. Everything that takes place around us, whether good or bad, is all a part of His plan. As it is, things happen for things to happen. Once, there was a devotee who wanted to become stronger in his devotion. So, he went to his Pandit and asked for a powerful mantra to chant. The Pandit gave him a Shiv Murti and told him, "Go home and chant Om Namah Shivaya." The devotee did so. 6 months passed and he realized that nothing was happening. So he put Shivji on a shelf in the corner and went back to his Pandit. "Baba, that one not working. Give me a more powerful one." Baba gave him a Vishnu Murti. "Go and chant Om Namo Narayanaya." The devotee did so again. Another 6 months passed and still nothing was happening. He put Lord Vishnu on the shelf next to Shivji and went back to the Pandit. "Pandit, that one and all not working. Give me a more powerful one." Pandit gave him a Kali Murti. "Go and chant Om Krim Kalikaye Namaha." So the devotee went home to start. He lit incense and began to wave it around Kali Devi. Suddenly, he noticed that the smoke from the incense was slowly drifting toward Lord Shiva on the shelf. He was collecting dust. So he took up 2 pieces of cotton and plugged the nostrils of the idol. "No sweet scent for you." Immediately, Lord Shiva appeared before him and asked him, "Beta, what is it that you want?" The man was surprised. "Prabhu, I was worshipping you for so long and you didn't come. Now when I plug your nostrils, you want to come?" Lord Shiva smiled. "Yes, because at least now you believe I have life and I can breathe." Devotees, look at this. This devotee used to perform all the rituals. He used to do arti, offer flowers, and light incense. But nothing worked until he had enough faith to know that the Murti had life. In the same way, we must have faith that Bhagwan is always with us, whether it seems so or not. He sees all and He knows all. When it feels like life is at a standstill or things may not be going too well for us, we have to maintain faith in Bhagwan and know that there's a time and a place for everything. You know, Thomas Edison tried over 100 experiments before he could successfully create the first light bulb. It was faith that drove him to continue when things seemed impossible. It was faith that motivated Sri Ram to search and fight for Sita Devi for so long. In the Ramayana, we also meet someone else who displayed true acts of faith in the hardest of times. Vibhishan was the brother of Ravan, the king of Lanka. He was surrounded by demons and wickedness, but he used to chant the name of the Lord and perform daily puja. Vibhishan once compared himself to be like the tongue between 2 sharp rows of teeth. Don't we all know what it's like to bite our tongue? In the same way, he was living in the midst of all these evil Rakshasas, and he never knew when something could go wrong. Yet still, even though he knew he would be opposing his brothers and everyone he knew, Vibhishan still chose to serve Sri Ram. Devotees, we mustn't worry about the hardships we are faced with. Sometimes, Bhagwan will send a Surasa or a Lankini in our lives to bring out the Hanuman in us. He knows how long we have waited for whatever we want. In the end, it will all be worth it. We just have to keep the faith.
This is the season to be jolly, but given the situation in our country, many people are not. Christmas celebrates the birth of Jesus Christ, and having faith in God is simple. is by believing and trusting that God is present in the good things and the bad things. He is always looking at us, and through these clouds of turmoil and distress, there waits a beautiful rainbow. Christmas is a special time, and God reaches out to us with love, and all He wants is for us to have faith in Him. As the book of Hebrews says, chapter 11, verse 6, and without faith it is impossible to please Him, for whoever would draw near to God must believe that He exists and that He rewards those who seek Him. Sitaram.
Come, holy faithful,
joyful and triumphant, Kami, O Kami, to Bethlehem. Come and behold Him, born the King of angels. Oh, come, let us adore Him. Oh, come, let us adore Him. Oh, come, let us adore Him, Christ the Lord.
choirs of angels, singing exaltation, sing all ye citizens of heaven above. Glory to God, glory in the highest.
Oh, come, let us adore Him. Oh, come, let us adore Him. Oh, come, let us adore Him, Christ the Lord. Come, holy faithful, joyful and triumphant. Oh, come to Bethlehem. Come and behold Him, born the King of angels. Oh, come, let us adore Him. Oh, come, let us adore Him,
Oh, come, let us adore Him,
Christ the Lord. Oh, come, let us adore Him. Oh, come, let us adore Him. Oh, come, let us adore Him, Christ the Lord.
Send the night wind to the little lamb. Do you see what I see? Do you see what I see? Way up in the sky, little lamb. Do you see what I see? Do you see what I see? A star, dancing in the night with a tail as big as a kite. With a tail as
प्रेम से बोलो श्री ईसु भगवान की जय. 'Tis the season to be jolly. If 'tis the season to be jolly, when does this season start? Many of us think that we count down to Christmas, some a month before, some a little more. Some get into the Christmas vibes a week before Christmas. But if 'tis the season to be jolly, when does this season begin? And therefore, for our brothers and sisters in the United States of America that celebrate Thanksgiving, they also see that the season starts in that time of Thanksgiving, and it progresses naturally all the way until Christmas. But in Sanatan Dharma, you all understand this concept very well, that notwithstanding the commercialism that is associated with Christmas, the season really is throughout. But I want to begin this morning about playing with two words. Do you believe that giving is an act? For many of us, we say that we give. When there is a season, however protracted we think that season may be, we think that there is a season of giving. And let's, for the sake of discussion this morning, say that the season is from January 1st to December 31st, which means every single day is an opportunity for us to give. Now, is giving an act? Would you agree that giving is an act? And because I say it, I'm going to play with two words. You're hesitant, right? Alaji is saying, yes, giving is an act. Well, I want to suggest, when we give as an act, it becomes a moment, it becomes a very discrete action that has a starting point and has an ending point. To act, meaning it is a verb, and therefore, if you have acted, it means it has gone. And therefore, to act means that it is a very specific point in time within the wider or the longer continuum in the spectrum of time. So this morning I want to suggest that giving should not be an act, but giving should be a state of being. Giving should be a state of being. And therefore, many times we hear it is not what you give, but it is Hare Baba, how you give. But I want to extend that statement a little more this morning. It is not what you give, it is not only how you give, but it is how much of you that becomes part of giving. Does it make sense to you? It is not what you give, it is not just how you give, but rather how much of you becomes part of the process of giving. 'Tis the season to be jolly. And therefore, I want you to think of that for a moment as the children prepares to sing another very beautiful rendition. Is it what? Is it how? Or how much of you that becomes part of giving?
Come, they told me, pa-ra-pa-pam-pam, a newborn king to see, pa-ra-pa-pam-pam. Our finest gifts we bring, pa-ra-pa-pam-pam, to live before the king, pa-ra-pa-pam-pam, ra-pa-pam-pam, ra-pa-pam-pam. So to honor him, pa-ra-pa-pam-pam,
every seed, there is a promise of 1,000 forests. Do you see that? In every seed, there is a promise of 1,000 forests. And every single one of you here this morning, or viewing this broadcast, you are that seed. But do you see yourselves as that seed having a promise of 1,000 forests? Or do you see yourselves as a seed that just has the ability to maybe create 1 or 2 of 10? How much you expand, how much you multiply what you have in this world is totally up to you. And therefore the law of giving and receiving tells us that in every seed there is a promise of 1,000 forests. But if that seed is hoarded, if that seed withholds its intelligence, if that seed does not give of its fertility to the wider environment, then the world will not benefit from its offerings. So today, 'tis the season to be jolly. 'Tis the season to be reminded that giving is not an act, but rather a process of being. I'm asking you this morning, do you understand that that which you give is not just what you put in gift paper and you wrap in a bow and you give it to someone else, whether it's on Christmas time or another occasion? You always have something to give. You know that, right? You always are blessed with something to give to another person. And therefore, some of the most powerful and beautiful gifts that you can give to another person, it is not that which is tangible or wrapped, but that which is the softer gift of presence, of time, of companionship, of a shoulder to lean on, a prayerful word, an encouraging word. Those are some of the deepest desires or needs that are required to be fulfilled when you interact with your world. Are you looking, or are you thinking that you also are limited in what you have in terms of your ability to give? Every single human being is blessed with abundance. This morning I want you to take, together with me, a deep breath. Please do it with me. 2, 3. And exhale now. Some of us have the cold, so don't breathe too hard. Do you know that in the act of inhaling, you have received the blessing? Some say, Hanumanji is the oxygen of this atmosphere. He is Pavanaputra. But sometimes we think Hanumanji is just this monkey god that is flying around, who is serving the purpose of Prabhu Sri Ram, as we discussed last night. But Hanumanji, if you understand him metaphysically, literally is the oxygen. He is the life giver. And therefore, each time you inhale, the body requires that oxygen. And in every inhalation, you are receiving something from this universe. Let's not call this entity God for now. Let's call it you are receiving the abundance of something that nourishes, that gives the body energy to exist purposefully. But when you exhale, you would say, Baba, it is only carbon dioxide, it is waste that I'm giving out. Your waste in carbon dioxide, it is the food, it is the nutrients for the plants. And I'm giving you this example this morning for you to understand that this universe cannot exist without the law of giving and receiving. And let me suggest to you this morning that you cannot give unless there is someone or something to receive. Do you know many of us are uncomfortable with receiving? Some of us are so very uncomfortable with receiving because we do something, whether it's for someone else or for a cause, and we don't want any recognition. Isn't that so, Bhaiya? You don't want any recognition for it. And the truth is, you should not do it for recognition, but there is an art in learning how to receive. Because that which you do when you give of your time and your effort and your resources, you are giving. And you're not expecting a reception in recognition or reward. But I want to remind you this morning that the receiving will come to you whether you want it or not. Bhagwan Sri Krishna emphasizes the action itself must be important, not the rewards, the results of the action. And therefore, whether you want it or not, Once you give, you have no choice. Of course, there must be someone on the receiving end, but once you give, devotees of God, I want to remind you this morning, emphatically, to prepare yourself, because the receiving will come to you in so much abundance that you wouldn't know what to do with it. And therefore, I take you back to the first concept this morning. It is not what you give, it is not how you give, but if you want the Lord to work favorably towards you, it is how much of you becomes part of the process in you giving. Do you know that Bhagwan, God, has blessed every single one of us? Let me look for an average-sized human being. Let's say Lloyd G, minus the little belly. Lloyd G has approximately 70 trillion cells within his body. Who gave it to him? Don't answer that. Some would say God, some would say Panditji. It is a natural process of mitosis and meiosis at the cellular level that makes 1 into 2, 2 into 4, 4 into 8, 8 into, like this, 16. But there is an energy that causes that cell. Every single one of us, we started with 2 cells. One, the sperm, and secondly, the egg within our mother's womb. And those cells came together and they multiplied. And the typical average human being, based on size, has on average 70 trillion cells that you have been given. And while we speak here this morning, I want you to think, Bhai, Christian's father here this morning, he came with a heavy heart, because while he and Christian are here this morning, his dulhan is at the hospital. They were called because the doctor said, you need to come right now. You read between the lines. It is critical. But those types of news gets our attention because it is the death of a person, or the potential thought of a death of a person. But do you know, right now, while you're living with us, experiencing this katha, this conversation, within you right now, there are cells that are dying. Within you at this moment, your body is naturally generating new cells. But for new cells to be formed and to be born and to exist within this space that constitutes 70 trillion cells, you have to make way. And therefore, while new cells are being born, old cells are dying. You see, when this process of death, of natural death at the cellular level doesn't happen, it is that which is called, I believe the scientists call it apoptosis or apoptosis. It is when the cell does not know, or it forgets the memory that it is time to die. When that process occurs, we call it cancer. Thank you very much, G. And therefore, in the very same way, we must recognize that giving and receiving is not something that we do as an act. Giving and receiving, if you understand the process of inhalation and exhalation, the process of cells being born and dying at the same time, it is the law of giving and receiving that is happening all the time. And therefore, when we see ourselves as giving only in a period of time, not just this the season, but when we see our life as a process of giving and receiving, not just inadvertently or passively, we must consciously understand and engage how much of us becomes part of giving. Then you would realize that the law of giving and receiving happens through you consciously. When you're breathing, many of us don't focus on our breathing because we take it for granted. So when life becomes unbalanced, when life upsets you, when things happen around you that gets the better of you, go back to the natural law of giving and receiving. Focus on this act that God happens. Dum 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 damaru baje. That dum dum damaru baje, it is the rhythm, it is the natural rhythm that is happening within you. And when you focus on that inhalation and exhalation, you become in tune with the natural rhythms of this universe. So my friends, as the children prepare to sing another very beautiful rendition, understand that you are continuously being blessed with gifts and you're also being blessed with the old cells being taken away. So don't just act. Become part of the process. Consciously focus on what you're doing when you're giving and also when you're receiving.
Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive the King. Let every heart prepare its room. And heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing. Joy to the world, the Savior reigns. Let man and songs employ. By breeze and flood, rocks and sing. Repeat the sounding joy, repeat the sounding joy, repeat the sounding joy. He rules the world with truth and grace, and makes the nations rule. The glory of His righteousness, I wonders of His love, I wonders of His love, I wonders of His love. Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive the King. Let every heart prepare its room. And heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing. Heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing.
There once was this prince. You all know of this prince, right? He was just about to become the king. And then, by the wish of some lady, he was sent away into the forest. You know this prince? And this prince, while he was there, his wife, his newly wedded bride, was taken away by some evil guy. I don't remember his name. You remember? And then while he was there, he decided to go find back his dulhan. And in the process of finding back his dulhan, many people died along the way. You know the story? And then when he finally got his dulhan back, and he went to his home where he was again given the opportunity to become the king, guess what? Wife got pregnant. Kuchur started, politics got in the way, and she had to leave. Is this a sad story or is this a happy story? Sad story, right? But when we put the name Prabhu Sri Ramchandra Ji and we put the flowery part of his life story in it, all of a sudden it sounds pretty. But the life of the Lord Sri Ram, from a human perspective, is not an encouraging one. And therefore, we must understand that life is not a bed of roses. Life was not intended to be smooth. Life was not, do you know that? Because unless you experience some of the trials, unless you experience some of the difficulties and setbacks in your life, you will not develop certain traits and qualities and attributes. And therefore, Ganesh Baba's blessings, sometimes it is to bring little trouble for you. Ganesh Baba blesses you in that way so that you learn to develop how to see these difficulties as opportunities. When we don't make the troubles into something better, into something sweeter, something that will reshape our metal on the inside, M-E-T-T-L-E. When we don't treat and we respond to life in that way, then we are missing this opportunity that is called life. And therefore, when you look at the life of Sri Ramchandra Ji, nothing about his life, at least from the physical outward level, is attractive, isn't it? And therefore, if you look now at how he responded to life, there is no point in the Ramayana, where you see Tulsidas writing the words that Rama got upset. Rama got angry. Rama lost his cool. Rama's Dulhan was abducted. All of these things happened. Rama's brother was shot in the battlefield. Rama displayed one very powerful trait in his disposition in the epic of Ramayana. And that trait, it is what is known as constancy. And therefore, in life, we must appreciate that the life of giving and receiving is not a pleasant one. My late Aja used to say, you know, boy, when you're doing good and you feel you're doing good, you haven't started to do good yet. When you're doing good and it feels good, you aren't doing good yet. But when you're doing good and you are chastised and you are criticized and you're ridiculed and it hurts while you're doing good, he said, you now start to do good. I take you this morning as we conclude to the life of the Lord Jesus Christ. The Lord Jesus Christ, throughout his entire life, from birth to the 18 years he spent in the Hindu Kush mountain in Gurukul system, to the point where he came back and he gave, through the guidance of Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, the three wise men, when he came back and he dispensed of what he learned in Vedanta to the entire world, do you think that the people that he interacted with all saw him as the Messiah, as the messenger of God? For every one person that saw the goodness in him, there were at least three who criticized and ridiculed him. But his mission, his purpose, his life's policy was never affected. His law, his remit of giving, what was given to him, never went perturbed, never was disrupted throughout his entire journey as the Lord Jesus Christ. Even on his final moments, when they nailed him to the cross and the Roman soldier stuck that spear into his rib on the side, what were his final words in that form? Father, forgive them, for they know not what they have done. Even in his dying moments, what was inside of him, but what was given to the world. And therefore, I take you back to our beginning question. 'Tis the season to be jolly. The season, your season, is the time between you were sent into this world to the time that you go home. That's your season. And don't let Christmas be a point in the calendar that we give, or whether it's Christmas or Diwali or Eid or Easter, don't let it be a short period in your life that you give. When you do that, it becomes an act. Think of your presence here as a process of giving and receiving that is happening naturally. And when you become in tune with that process of giving and receiving, then, children of God, you would realize that you focus on what you do. Give, not what you give, not how you give, but how much of you becomes part of the process of giving. And then I leave you with a caution. Once you give in that way, once you live in that way, be prepared, because I caution you, so much will come back towards you, you will not know what to do with that blessing. Prem se bolo Shri Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki, Are Satya Sanatan Dharma ki.
Hands with boughs of holly, fa la 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 la. 'Tis the season to be jolly, fa la 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 la. Don we now our gay apparel, fa la 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 la. Through the ancient Yuletide carol, fa la 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 la. See the praise in you before us, fa la 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 la. Strike the harp and join the chorus, fa la 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 la. Follow me in merry measure, fa that your baby boy will one day walk on water. Mary, did you know that your baby boy will save our sons and daughters?
Did you know that your baby boy has come to make you new? This child that you deliver will soon deliver you.
Mary, did you know that your baby boy will give sight to a blind man? Mary, did you know that your baby boy will calm a storm with his hand?
Did you know that your baby boy has walked where angels trod? When you kiss your little baby, you kiss the face of God. Mary, did you know? 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 The blind will see, the deaf will hear, the dead will live again. The lame will leap, the dumb will speak, the praises of the
Mary, did you know that your baby boy is Lord of all creation? Mary, did you know that your baby boy will one day rule the nation?
Did you know that your baby boy is heaven's perfect lamb? The sleeping child of holding in the grave. Mary, did you know? 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 Mary, did you know?
Away in a manger, no crib for a bed, the little Lord Jesus laid down his sweet head. The stars in the bright sky looked down where he lay, the little Lord Jesus asleep on the hay. The cattle are lowing, the baby awake, but little Lord Jesus no crying he makes. I love thee, Lord Jesus, and stay by my side until morning is nigh. Be near me, Lord Jesus, I ask thee to stay close by me forever, and love me, I pray. Bless all the dear children in thy tender care, and take us to heaven to live with thee there.
We wish you a Merry Christmas.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. Good tidings we bring to you and your kin. Good tidings for Christmas and a Happy New Year. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas.